So, what I want to talk about today is something that we always find to be a really important component of sea turtle conservation efforts. So, as we have mentioned, we primarily work in funding sea turtle conservation efforts around the world, and we do this through our grant making program. But a big part of what we look to do through our funding is fund communities to increase their engagement and drive to promote sea turtle conservation practices. So, oh, just a small recap. We're a smaller nonprofit on the smaller side in terms of staff, but through our work, we've been able to protect over 50,000 sea turtles. That includes hatchlings and grown adults. We work both in preserving habitats, but also funding rescue, rehabilitation, and release programs. But in terms of what I'm talking about today, in communities where we're looking to promote sea turtle conservation practices, creating a culture of conservation is key. Now, what does that mean? When I look at creating a culture of conservation, that means integrating the importance of the species and the stakeholders in the community and combining them into a shared view, a shared initiative, and a shared drive. Not having them as two distinct entities, not, oh, there's this species that exists in our environment and we also live, but create them as one that coexists in this space. The space is just as much theirs as it is ours. So, I always find that when we talk about creating these communities, it's best to provide case studies. So we've got two today. The first one is Topsail Island in North Carolina. Now, Topsail Island has a very large sea turtle nest population. Each summer, they have around 150 to 200 sea turtle nests on this 26-mile stretch of beach, which is the island. And they also have the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center, and they're a sea turtle hospital that rehabilitates, and releases hundreds of sea turtles each year. They're also one of our grantees, so we fund some of their work. And when we talk about creating culture of conservation around sea turtles, the island and the hospital is a great example of this. So there's a few components. First of all, they have the beach program. And what the beach program is they work volunteers in the community that have lived in this area for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And they empower them to go out and protect this species through the identification, monitoring, and protection of sea turtle nests. Another component of creating this engaged community is by engaging local businesses to promote the conservation practices. So you can see in the upper left corner of this photo, this sea turtle nest was adopted, or it was sponsored by a local organization, Sundial Coffee and Tea. And while it's not the donation, not the grant itself that drives the change, it's the fact that in integrating these businesses into the action and creating a shared sense of ownership over the protection of these creatures, as a whole, it's increasing the level of awareness about the problem, but it's also allowing individuals to have a sense of ownership, like I said, over the protection of the species. Now, just like in the previous photo where we saw about Sundial Tea and Coffee, they have other sponsorships, right? They have organizations that have started their whole company around sea turtles. So Salty Beer Company, it's called Salty Turtle, and they were founded in about 3 years ago. And this organization, the name of this organization was created because of the environment where it exists. So the island is known for its turtles. When people think about the island, they think about the turtles, the Sea Turtle Hospital, and that speaks to the culture of the island and how it's integrated. It's integrated between the existence of these creatures and the people living on the island. Now, another example of this culture is there's a Surf to Sound 5K, where hundreds of people on the island run 5 kilometers in September to fund the local sea turtle hospital. And now, while it's not so much about, yeah, while the funds that are raised at these events are extremely helpful for supporting sea turtle conservation practices, it's the creation of culture, the creation of community in the whole group participating in this conservation work that further unites this feeling of the sea turtles being coexisting in the same space as humans. Now, another example is in the Ivory Coast in Grand Berbe, and this is this organization. Well, this organization started not as an organization. It started as just one veterinarian who was in the area deciding to begin his work in protecting the local sea turtle population. They have hundreds of nests with tens of thousands of sea turtles coming out of these nests each year. And in the Ivory Coast, in this part of the Ivory Coast, the consumption of sea turtle eggs and meat is a huge part of their culture, economy, and food source. So what this veterinarian did is he began to work with the local community, engaging them in conversations about awareness and about why the actions they're taking are having a negative impact on these turtles. Now, as Brad talked about, he did not go in and say you need to change what you're doing. All that he did was educate and try to bring awareness to the impact of these actions, and then allow the communities to make a determination about how they're going to respond. But that's a really big thing. If you're able to convince people to take action based off of educating them, based off of inspiring them, that's going to be where you can create not just one-off conservation efforts, but create a long-term culturally infused and long-term culturally infused conservation efforts that not just one person is leading in the community, but rather it's the community as a whole that is supporting this. So you can see now they have groups working to block off sections of beach where seashore nests were laid in order to protect them from poachers. So based off both of these case studies and as a whole, if we're gonna work to protect these creatures, we cannot make one-off efforts in communities that don't create a long-term culture of conservation. So the way that we create this long-term culture of conservation is by inspiring individuals within the community, by educating individuals within the community, and by integrating the existence of sea turtles with the existence of humans. So instead of it being that sea turtles and humans are living as two separate groups, we want to create them as one entity that live together and coexist and share the space, that the space is just as much theirs as it is ours. If you're interested in learning more about our work, you can follow us on our website at theseaturtleconservationfund.org. And you can also reach out to me at Grayson, my first name, at theseaturtleconservationfund.org. So it's the same it's the same name as this logo right here. So the theseaturtleconservationfund.org. And we'd love to hear you if you're interested in partnering with us or learning more about our work. Yeah, please reach out. Thank you.